Hey there, comic book fans. It's Rusty again with Collector Auctions, and here I am in the car again, getting ready to go into another comic book show here in the Baltimore area. Just like the first show of the year that I went to, this is held by Clandestine Comics, and this is a show that happens just about every month of the year, alternating sites between Hunt Valley, Maryland, like it did in the first show, and this show in Laurel, Maryland, which is really close to the house, which is nice because I got to sleep in this morning a little bit after work. So I'm getting ready to go in. I don't really have a go-to list. There are a couple big keys that I'm definitely going to keep my eyes out on. I definitely brought some very nice graded comic books to maybe offer up and trade. We'll see how that goes. If I can't find anything, we probably won't talk about that anymore. But we're going to go in. We're definitely going to look for books that I want to put in the PC and books that I want to invest in, books that I think have some hidden value, especially if I can get them into the shop, clean and press them, and be able to get those really high grades from CGC. Fingers crossed always. But like always, we'll go in. We're an open book today. I do not have a list. I just know there are a few big things I'm really looking for. And then the rest of it, I'm just going to see what happens and see what comes to me. So sit back and enjoy some of the footage that I take from the show. And then I'll come back and we'll do a little show and tell with whatever I pick up today. So stay tuned and I'll be right back. Good. That's pretty cool. This has got to get signed now, right? right, guys, I just finished up here in Laurel, Maryland, and I had a great time at the show. There were a lot of great dealers, including some new dealers that I've never seen before, and that really paid off for me because they had some fantastic books, and they actually helped me complete a run that I'm working on. And if you guys follow the channel at all, you know which run I'm talking about. And not only did they finish my run, they actually had some of the keys in really high grade condition at really good prices. So I ended up picking up additional copies in that run. Great books, but that wasn't the end of it because I found some other dealers there as well that had some fantastic books, some regulars. But this was a great show. It was well attended and the books were hot. There still were some dealers in there that had prices a little too high, but generally you could find some really good deals. So I'm going to go home now and we'll sit down and we'll do a little show and tell. So stay tuned and I'll be back once again.
One eternity later.
All right, guys, I made it back home and I had a great time at the show. This was by far one of the best shows that I've been to in a long time. Small show. And I go to this show often. Don't get me wrong. I love this show. But there was something different about this show. And it really showed. This is probably one of my best hauls that I've had from this show in a long time. And it hit on a lot of different points. There's a lot of different themes going on here. And I was sitting here trying to figure out how I was going to present it today. Was I going to go by theme? Or was I going to break it down by dealer? And I figured in the end it was going to be easier to just go by dealer and talk about the different themes that each book hits. But I'm going to mention that right now. So first and foremost, this show actually helped me finally complete one of my runs on one of my comics that I've been trying to finish up for the last basically year and a half, maybe 2 years at this point, not quite 2 years. And I'm super excited about that. And I cannot wait to show that to you. And I will show that to you as part of one of the dealers that I picked up some books from. But another theme that was going on was, wow, the prices were really good. Not everywhere, but there were definitely some new dealers there and some old dealers too. And you could find some really good prices on some really high grade books. And I was, honestly, I had to stop myself at a certain point because there's always a budget to keep in mind, and I just had to kind of stop at a certain point. I could have just kept going. And I ended up finding a lot of great books at some really good prices. Now, the one thing, the opposite of that, of course, is what I'm seeing is there are some old school dealers that are there. They're regulars that I've seen at each and every show. And I will tell you this, they're overpriced. They will not budge on those prices. Now, I'm not talking about going up there and negotiating the price down. I'm talking about you go up and you look at the wall and you look at the bins and you see the prices and you're just going, they're still asking for prices based on that CGC potential. At least that's what I think. They're trying to get their fair share of that book once you take that book and get it into the CGC and hopefully increase the value. They're trying to get their cup of honey out of that. Honestly, there's just a handful of them that I still just don't buy anything from. I look at the books. They have some great books, don't get me wrong, but the prices are up here. I mean, I'm not saying that they're not unreasonable. Maybe they're not unreasonable if you were just buying the book to put it in your PC, end of story. But a lot of us do this for a couple different reasons. One, of course, is to increase value for your own PC, but also to do so to help resell. Once you get it graded, maybe you get that higher grade, increase the value of it, and help pay for this hobby. And I sound like I'm fudging here a little bit. It's a little bit like a flipper, what it sounds like. But honestly, I do a lot of flipping to help pay for a lot of what I do in this hobby. I spend a lot of money on getting autographs, and I try to sell a lot of books to help fund that. So what I'm seeing at these dealers is, like I said, if you just wanted to buy that book and be done with it, put it in your PC, fine. Maybe the price is reasonable to you. But I'm always looking for being able to get those books graded and to get them to the CGC. And I look at those high prices and it's just not worth it. You go in there and you think you're buying an 8.5 of some Silver Age book. It's definitely high grade. And all it takes is a couple little misses on your part at that high price that you just paid to go into CGC, get a grade much lower than you expected, and all of a sudden it's worth less than what you just paid. So I'm just saying that those prices are off the charts for me, and I won't touch them. So you still have a lot of that at this show, but there were definitely some regulars there that had some fantastic prices. You'll see that coming up. I've got one dealer, actually two dealers, that I've got some really good books that I bought. And then you've got a brand new dealer that actually helped me complete that run that I was talking about. But they also had high grade books as well. So that's why I said I'm going to break it down by dealer today, not by theme. But there's a lot of crossover there. But before I get started, one of the things that they do with this show is they do a prize giveaway. When you go in and you pay your admission, they give you one of those little fair tickets with a number on there, raffle ticket. And probably, I wasn't looking at the clock, but I would imagine about an hour into the show, they stop everything and they say, hey, we're going to give the giveaway. And they actually had two prizes today. And these are donated by some of the dealers, the regular ones there. And in this case today, there were two prizes given away, and they read off the first number, and we had a winner immediately, which is sometimes you would think that the winners would still be there even after an hour, but a lot of times they pull that number and there's no one there, and they pull another number until they finally find somebody. The last show was just like that. Well, this show, they pulled off the first number, 5 seconds later, winner, great. And then they call off the second number, and I looked down and I actually had the winning number for the second prize. Now, the way the owner of Clandestine Comics does the giveaway is the first winner gets his pick of the two prizes in this case. Or if there's more, he still gets his pick. And then the next person gets their pick. In this case, there's only two winners. So I got what was left over from the first winner, and let me show you what I won. It was pretty cool, and in fact, I think I like this better than the item that went ahead of me. But this is right, it's pretty cool. I had to look up and see exactly what it is. It is a cardboard flat right here. It is actually a cardboard box. You can see it opens up like this. It is a comic book collecting box, and I had to look this up. It's from 1975, and I recognized the art, or at least the style, pretty immediately. And then, of course, the name of the artist is on here. It's Jim Steranko. And so I looked it up once I got home. Let me show you the back side. Here, let me go forward just a little bit. Isn't that cool? Unused, so it has never been used. And I had to look it up. It is from 1975, Jim Steranko. It is a comic book collector's box, basically, and it's open on both ends. So, I don't know, it's not really a full box or anything, but I thought this was super cool, and this is an item I might have to take to the next opportunity I have to get Jim Steranko to sign that. We'll see about that, but it's not a super expensive item. In fact, you could go on eBay right now, and for about $22 to $25, including shipping, you could get one just like this unopened. But nonetheless, it was super cool to win this, and I appreciate the chance. This is, I think, about the third time I've won prizes from this clandestine show. So definitely worth going. I was very lucky today to start off this with. But now we're going to get into the books. And before we do that, definitely hit that like, slap the subscribe, and click on that notification bell so you guys don't miss out on any of the episodes that I put out each and every week, Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays at 3 p.m. All right, guys, sit back. I'm going to get reset up, and we're going to go through dealer by dealer by dealer, and I'll show you off all the books. So stay tuned, and I'll be right back. All right, guys, so the very first one I'm going to present today is actually the second dealer that I bought books from, but it has the book that I ended up finishing a run with, and I want to show that to you in a second. But let me give a shout out to this dealer. I've never seen them before. They're down from New Jersey. They're called New Jersey Comic Stop, and I will definitely keep an eye out for them. They've got their own show coming up, I believe in March. They've had some flyers on that, so I will definitely have to check them out. And the next time I'm up in New Jersey, I'll have to find out exactly where they are, because they brought a great table full of great books. And in a case like this show today, now I found a lot of stuff to begin with, but one of my goals is to finish up the Invaders run. And I'm down to one book. And I found it before. Even at this show, I've found it. But it is super hard for me to find the really good high-grade copy of it. So let me show it to you, because this is the book that finishes up my entire Invaders run at this point. It is issue number 13. This is not a key, but, and I've had this before, I own this as a reader copy, but I've been trying to complete the entire Invaders run, issues 1 through 41, the king size annual, the giant size book, and I also include the What If number 4 as well. And there are a couple of Marvel premieres that have the Liberty Legion that were so adjacent to the Invaders. I include those as well. And this book right here completes that run. I'm going to tell you, I'm going to have to do a show, and I will go through every book in this Invaders run and do a show on that by itself. But I'm going through these books, and they were not obviously my first stop of the day. There were plenty of regulars in this room, and this room was super small, as you could tell by some of the footage, and it was super packed. And just so you guys know, this was being filmed on Super Bowl Sunday. So at 10 o'clock, that room filled up, and it was super hard to get to a lot of the dealers. So there are regulars that I'd love to go to. In fact, I did buy some books from one of my regulars. I couldn't get to their table until about the second hour, maybe even the third hour in there. And at a certain point, I finally was able to go around the rest of the room, and I made it over to this dealer, New Jersey Comic Stop. And I didn't recognize the person, but they had some bins. They had a pretty good wall set up. And whenever I see the bins set up at this point, the first thing I'm going to do is let's look and see if they've got any Invaders. Only some people bring the Invaders books down. I mean, it is not obscure, but how many people are really working on this run? Well, not only did they have this book right here, they had I wouldn't say the entire line, but they had a huge selection of Invaders books. But the conditions were really good. But this first one right here, they had a couple copies. This was definitely the best one. And the best part of this was, going back to the themes we were talking about with this dealer right there, the prices were fantastic. And if you went over $100, he'd give you an automatic 10% off of what they were listed, what he was selling them for. So I was fine with that, because the prices were already really good. A lot of these Invaders books, if you get super high grade, even if they're not keys, a lot of people love to charge that $20, $30 for those books, because I think they know people are trying to complete a run at high grade like that. But these prices were very reasonable, very reasonable. And so I can say I'm super happy about this. Now, as we go through the books, and this is going to be a long video, so I'm sorry about that, I'm going to give you some potentials on this, because remember, what did I say? Adding to the PC and adding for possible resale as well. Getting these books graded. I always look through most of the books in the lens of CGC, getting them graded, hopefully getting a lot of value instilled into these books. Like I said, it could be for the PC to hold on to and eventually give down to my daughter. She would eventually sell them, or I just end up reselling them fairly soon, or hold on to them for a while before I end up parting with them, and again helping pay for the hobby. So even a book like this that completes a run, I look at things in the lens of CGC. Well, this one right here, 9.8, and I'm going to give you 9.8 values on this, and as well as 9.6, because every book that I'm going to talk about here coming up were super high grade. I mean, I'm not finding, there may still be some defects after I give them a really good inspection, but right off the bat, these books were great. So 9.8 on issue number 13. Now, and again, these are recent sales. $235 to $129. It's not a big book or anything. 9.6 is a drop down an awful lot. $60 to $32. Not a lot of value in a 9.6, but pretty decent as a 9.8. And what did I say? They had a lot of other Invaders runs. But Russ, you finished your run. What more do you want? Well, I'm always looking to even upgrade, because like I said, when I started the Invaders runs, it was based on really good conditions at really super prices. And I wasn't
super particular about some of the defects that might have been there. They were just higher grade, very fine plus up maybe. Well, in some of the cases, especially the keys, I certainly don't mind to upgrade. And that's what I did. Now, I had to stop myself because they had a bunch of the other books in the line, and I had to cut it off at some point. So I'll show you what I picked up. We picked up a super high grade copy of issue number 3. Not a key, but a fantastic John Romita Senior, my mistake, senior cover right there. I had this as a kid, one of my favorite Romita covers from the mid-70s right there. This book right here, I believe also this is November of 1975. 9/8 on this book right here range anywhere from $2.99, well, I should say $192, $2.99, up to $480. So this over a period of time here, maybe the last year. It's one of these books don't sell a lot on a regular basis. They are pretty old at this point, so there may not be a lot of sales recently, so I do have to go back in time just a little bit. But if it goes past 2023, I will definitely tell you that. 9/6s still maybe some value if somebody's looking for it. I've seen one as low as $56, but one as high as about $140. But it doesn't stop there. I ended up finding one of the keys in the book. The line is number 12 right here. This is the first appearance of Spitfire. Got a Kirby cover right there. January of 1977. And super high grade copy of that, but even better, they had 2 of them. And usually the keys in this line can get kind of expensive, but $10 on these. And normally on some of the keys, you'll end up 20 plus, maybe more. I mean, I literally saw some of the books at some of the shows over the last year, $80, $90 on some of these keys in this line, and it's crazy. And this one is one of the keys. It's not the biggest key in the line, but it is a really good key. First appearance of Spitfire, like I said. 9/8s go from $288 down to $250. 9/6 is $125 to $139. It's got some value at that 9/6 because it is a key. Now, the next book I ended up picking up, and honestly, I can't stop myself on this book. I talked about it in one of the last videos. I picked up issue number 17. This is my favorite book in the Invaders run. You've got that first appearance of Warrior Woman right there. I love this cover. It's super strong. I love strong female characters like this. And the cover is fantastic. I'm not much of a fan of the Frank Robbins artwork on the interiors of most of these Invaders books, but the cover right here, I believe I want to say, I didn't write it down, but I believe it's a Gil Kane. Has some of those qualities to it. But love this cover, and I continue picking this book up, and I'm trying to find super high grade. Well, here it is, super high grade. 9/8s go for this, $230 up to $312. 9/6s, $190 down to $139. It's a pretty popular book. A lot of people must like that, just like I do. Again, doesn't stop there. It keeps going. And this is something, when I picked this up in one of my previous comic book haul videos, was issue number 20. And I'm going to show it to you. This is the first appearance of the second Union Jack. And this right here is one of the last books that I just picked up to kind of get within one of finishing a run. And this is a book I always find being super expensive. Well, he had a $15 price tag on it, and I'll tell you right now, I picked up 2 of them because they're both super high grade. And at $15 a piece, I can't argue with that. Most of the time, you're going to see that book. I've seen that book $40, $50. And I just wasn't willing to put that kind of money into it. For a book, honestly, I just want in the PC. A high-grade book, I want in the PC. But what a great book if you can pull these 9/8s. And again, I'm not giving you the value unless I think it has a good shot at it. 9.8, anywhere from $420 down to $350. 9.6, $110 to $185. That's why I buy multiples of these. I mean, obviously, if I keep one in the PC, I've got something to send into CGC and maybe basically strike gold by not spending a lot of money right here. Well, that was it for the Invaders run. I did look at all the other books, and I sat there and I'm going, okay, I'd already spent some money at the show. I wasn't looking, to be honest, I was on a mission for something much bigger. And I was not necessarily wanting to spend a lot of money until I had a chance to look for that massive key that I was looking for. But when I ran across these, I was like, I have to get the ones I really want. And I kind of put the other ones back. I'm going to probably regret that in some cases. I'll go through that Invaders run. And I'm going, I wish I could have upgraded that. But that was it for the Invaders. So let's put these down. And I'll show you what else I found. Now, this goes back to one of my old goals that even though the value of the book has really come down over the last couple of years, it is still a goal of mine to get the 9.8 version of this book in my PC. I've got a 9.6, and the value on that has dropped down significantly as well. 9.6 was, that copy was the one that one of the ones I'd been buying over the last couple of years to try to get that 9.8, because the 9.8s were really expensive. And I wasn't just going to spend $300 or $400 on that book when I could spend $30 to $60 on a super good raw and clean and press it and get it into CGC. And I never could hit on it. Well, I picked up, and I continue to pick up copies to this day, periodically, taking that shot. In fact, I had a few that were about ready to go into CGC, and I looked at them a little bit closer and was like, nah, I just don't think they're 9.8 candidates. I think they're strong 9.6s. But I wasn't willing to just spend the money and roll the dice on that until I get ready to do a pre-screen order perhaps. But again, I continue to pick up this book wherever I go if I can find it in super high grade at a super price. And that's what I did with these right here. New copies, I got 2 of them. Great copies. What a great collection they had of Avengers 186. Now this, it's not listed as a key, but it is a bit of a key. It is an inspiration behind that Doctor Strange movie with Wanda as the villain. There's a lot going on. It's the origin of Quicksilver and the Scarlet Witch. Beautiful, beautiful artwork by John Byrne. And I love this book. I love trying to get this up. I've gotten the issue prior. I don't think I got a 9.8 on issue 185. That was a little bit of a trouble book, but I didn't care for that book as much. The issue right after this got a beautiful John Byrne cover as well of Wanda being possessed by the demon, and I cannot remember the name, to be honest with you. But it's also part of it comes from the Darkhold that we see a lot of that being used in the MCU. And of course, we saw that in the Doctor Strange movie. And on the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. show, they showed the Darkhold. And that's where you get a lot of the story from this book right here. The last issue, 187, I've gotten 9.8s on that book several times, and I've never spent too much on that. But this is the money book out of that 3-issue storyline. But I'll tell you this. I probably should have jumped on a 9.8 just online. Somebody's selling it, because prices in the last half year have come down as far as $202 to $264. I should have just bought it, but I still think, I can buy this book really decently. I'll find a good copy at some point. But a recent sale within the last couple weeks, this year in fact, $395. And I'm going, ooh, I like that. I'd like to see the value of comics go back up, even though I'm not going to spend that to get that. It tells me that investing in this book right here I think I spent, yeah. And again, there's still a 10% discount on everything, but $20 a pop on these, and they are super high grade. They are directs, so that does a little bit, not quite as good as a newsstand, but what a great book. Both copies are a lot of potential. So 9.6s, let me give you those values right now. Down to $140, $120, and $125. Those are recent sales over the last month or so. All right, so it wasn't, I didn't end there. I mean, in fact, I couldn't get to the books I was really, like the Invaders, I had to wait a little bit to get into that section. So I was looking through some other things, and I happened to be in the letter T for Thor, and I ended up thumbing through there, and this is a book I pick up whenever I think it's a pretty good value. It is Thor, which one is this? 279 from December of 1976, and you've got a book I picked up several times over the last year. This is definitely the highest grade version I've picked it up. Got this beautiful Dave Cochran cover with Jane Foster in bondage, and that's the value of the book. It's the Jane Foster bondage cover right there. I don't think the insides have any, really, nobody cares about that. It's definitely a cover for this. But 9.8s on this go from $191 up to $286. Again, I wouldn't give you the value unless I thought this was a potential. 9.6s have a lot of value as well. 180 to about 178, in that range right there, just south of $200. This is a book that I would put in without probably doing a pre-screen at this point, because the book's in super high grade. I don't think I need to do a pre-screen. Even if it drops down, I'll still be able to make some money on this book. Now, it's a book that I love, but this is very much a book that I would look to resell to definitely somebody out there probably wants it more than I do. I don't necessarily need it in my PC, but I love it. But I wouldn't mind using something like this to help to pay for the rest of the hobby. All right, last book is like that as well. This paid a little bit more for this one, but it is a really nice copy. And I wouldn't have got it. This one I'm taking a little bit more chance on. This was probably the most expensive book I spent bought at the I want to miss the name up again, New Jersey Comic Stop. And they had several copies. In fact, I was looking at another copy that looked better, except it had a little bit of a ding on the top. It looked like somebody had hit something on top, or it had hit a corner. And the cover, there was a slight color break at that bend. You could have pressed it out. I think it would have been okay. But it actually bent all the newsprint papers, all the pages as well. And I kind of like, hey, I kind of pointed it out, and they took it out of the bag, and it's like, oh, yeah, I mean, it actually breaks color. He even said that, the dealer. And they actually marked that price down a little bit. But I wasn't interested in that book at that point, to be honest. They had another one, and it has a manufacturing defect that doesn't get knocked. And a lot of collectors may not like it, although I like it because of its pressing ability, is Champions #1. And this is from September of 1975. First appearance of this group of heroes coming together as the champions. And this book right here, let me tell you why it was a second choice at the very beginning. Let's go forward. You can't see it because of the whiteboard, but do you see the cover wrap coming around right there around the front? And it's not exactly even either. But what I like about covers like this, on older books especially, is that it's not going to break color. It's still white, and if the paper's broken, that's one thing. But if there's a slight crease that can come out after using a tack iron on a book like this, you're not going to have to worry about the color break. You can really improve and bump a book up like this. And I always like books like this. And you don't get knocked on that from CGC. So right there, a lot of potential in this one, a lot. 9.8s. Again, I wouldn't give it to you unless I thought it had a chance. Anywhere from $755 up to $1,100 recent sales on a 9.8 on this book. 9.6s really drop off though. 9.6s go down to $111 up to $188. That's a little scary. I actually did a 9.4 on this one just to kind of see. And again, people buy at different times, and maybe some of these prices actually, so when they drop down a lot, are actually, you'll notice that they are auction listings rather than fixed price. And I tend to see the auction prices right now drop down a lot. I think there's some potential for people to pick up some good keys with auctions, but you've got to be in there bidding and everything as well. 9.4, $130 down to $99. So there's still some value in that book, even at this lower grade. But guys, that is it for this section. That is New Jersey Comic Stop. I will leave their information if I can find it. I've got to look it up, and I will leave their information down below in the description. All right, guys, so I want to actually stop the episode right here and call it wraps for today. When I did the original filming, I realized that I was going on for an awful long time, and the episode was going to be probably well over an hour at that point, and there's no way I'm going to ask somebody to sit there for an hour on YouTube and watch one single show. So what I'm going to do, we'll stop the show here, and then in the next episode, I will pick up right from this spot, and we will continue on with the books from the other two dealers that I did get books from this clandestine comic book show. So I hope you will join me in a couple days for that episode as well. But until then, definitely leave me a comment in the comment section below. Let me know what you think about the books that I've picked up so far. I'd love to hear from you. So guys, I will see you in a couple days. Until then, remember, every comic has a story.